Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay, as we're taking the Gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is the Book of Ezra, revisited. I'm already taught on the lost book of Ezra. That's what we're going to teach on today. Ezra was comprised of 4 books. The first 2 you can read about in the Bible. But there was 2 additional books called the Lost Books. That was originally in the Septuagint, the Greek version of the Bible, the Jewish Bible that Jesus taught from. Along with the other lost books, you had the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, you had the Book of Jasher. These books Street Priest didn't cover. I've not read the entire books, part of them. And the reason I wanted to revisit Ezra, even though I've already taught on the lost books, you can get that teaching, as well as the book of Ezra. We're living in the last days, and I wanted to touch on just one important part of the dream that God had given Ezra. Now, you will never, ever understand biblical prophecy. That's why there's so much ignorance, and false prophecy going on in the church world, because they're ignorant of true history. And you will never understand biblical prophecy without understanding history. God spoke history in advance, in some cases very minute detail, like in Daniel. Now Daniel parallels Ezra, except Daniel calls them beasts. Now I taught on Daniel. Get my teaching, the age of the beast and the age of Christ. I'm not going to reiterate that today, but it parallels his vision of the eagle heads with the feathers. God set up these beast kingdoms, and in this case here of Ezra, the eagle head kingdoms. Now there's been heraldry where the eagle head has been a symbol of these pagan kingdoms. You want to trace the history of these ancient kingdoms, beast kingdoms, God called it, that ruled the world. You can go back to Egypt, around 3000 BC, somewhere near the 3500 BC. Egypt ruled all the way as a major kingdom all the way up until Cleopatra. 30 BC with Julius Caesar conquering the world. So these have been world empires. Babylon, and Nebuchadnezzar was a world power. You had Egypt first, then you had Assyria, then you had Babylon. And after Babylon, you had the Medo-Persian Empire that conquered Cyrus the Great, and conquered Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Then you had the Gregorian Empire, Alexander the Great, the Greek Empire, that swept the whole world, the known world in its day. These are all these beast kingdoms. Then you had Julius Caesar, Roman Empire, that conquered the whole world. And his empire lasted longer than all the others, because it morphed into, after all the Caesars reigned, into what we know today as the Roman Catholicism, which is still an empire, continuation. And God looks at this empire all the way up until today, the revised Roman Empire. And it's going to be under the Antichrist kingdom. And you had briefly almost neglected them, the Ottoman Empire. But all these were morphed off of this eagle that he had, this vision, that he gave in detail. And like I said, you will never understand history until you understand. You'll never understand God's prophetic word until you understand history. You'll always be confused. And in some cases, God told his prophets to seal up the prophecies because it wasn't time for them to be revealed. That's why these books are lost. You know, in time it will make sense what God's revelatory meanings was, especially with dealing with his symbols. And God will reveal it through his then prophets, pastors, and teachers, what his revelatory word was for that day and how it applies today. Now, this is the book here, the Apocrypha. Apocrypha is hidden, and Apocalypse is the unveiling. I told him the Apocalypse, which is Revelation. And these books were hidden in history. Now we're going to start the second book of Ezra. So if you happen to have the second book of Ezra, this is where we're going to start, and we're starting at 10:48:11, in case you have the book. Chapter 10, verse 48. So I slept that night, and the following one, as he had commanded me. And it came to pass on the second night that I had a dream. And behold, there came up out of the sea. Now, the sea always represents nations and people, bodies of people, just like John the Revelator talked about beasts coming up out of the sea. Daniel, the same thing. The Bible gave a major clue that the sea represents nations and people in Daniel. So I slept that night, and as he had commanded me, and it came to pass on the second night that I had a dream. Now, Ezra had asked God for his revelation for the end time, and God's given it to him. And it came to pass on the second night that I had a dream, and behold, there came up out of the sea an eagle, with 12 feathered covered wings, and 3 heads. And I looked, and behold, he spread his wings over the whole earth. And all the winds of heaven blew upon him, and the clouds gathered about him. And I looked, and out of his wings grew additional wings, and they became small dwarfish wings, but his heads were resting. The middle head was greater than the other heads, but it was resting like them. And I looked, and behold, the eagle flew with his wings to reign over the earth and over those who live on it. And I saw that everything under heaven was subject to him, and no one opposed him, nor any creature that was on earth. And I looked, and behold, the eagle rose up on his talons, and uttered his voice to the wings, saying, Do not all watch at once. Sleep each on his own place, and watch by turns, but let the heads be reserved for the last. So in other words, the culmination of these empires is going to happen in the end times, the last days. We're going to say the best for last. Dealing with the heads. And so the wings are symbolizing the kingdoms, like I just mentioned, that are reigning in Egypt, Assyria, those type of kingdoms, Babylon. And they saving the biggest kingdoms for last. And I looked, and behold, the voice did not come from his head, but from the midst of his body. A secret order that's over these beasts and the kingdoms. I want to point that out to you. The voice did not come from his head, but from the midst of his body. This is a secret organization. And these organizations are ancient occult, which means hidden. And they've been ruling these beastly kingdoms from behind the scenes. these so-called elitist bloodlines, ancient occult, and they've been manipulating men since the dawn of these beast kingdoms. And they are ancient occult. Infiltration they practice, secrecy, oaths, stealth, deception, and they serve the serpent. They serve Satan. And they see the rest of mankind as cattle to be fed on. I mean, that's literally and figurative. They're cannibals too. Especially children. They love eating it because of the innocence. Satan loves to defile the innocence. That's what all the rape and abuse of the kids come from. To defile the innocence of the kids. He hates innocence. Jesus says you must come as a child and enter the kingdom of heaven. Children are innocent. They become corrupted by this evil world and society. But that's what the abuse comes from. That's Saul Santana. And that's what these people practice. These hidden voices here. And I looked, and behold, the voice did not come from his heads, but from the midst of his body. And I counted his additional wings, and behold, there were 8 of them. And I looked, and behold, on his right side, one wing arose, and it rained over the whole earth. And it came to pass that after it rained, it came to an end and disappeared, so that even in this place it could not be seen. Then the second arose and reigned, and it ruled a long time. And it came to pass after it had reigned, it also came to an end, so that it disappeared like the first. And behold, a voice was heard saying to it, Listen, you who have ruled the earth so long, I make this proclamation to you before you begin to disappear. No one after you will rule as you have ruled, or even half as long. Then the third wing raised itself up and ruled like the former ones, and it also disappeared, and it fell to all the wings, one by one, to be emperor. And then it disappeared again. And I looked, and behold, in due time, the additional wings on the right side raised themselves up in order to be emperor. Very close attention. That's the clue. And there were some of them who succeeded, but immediately disappeared. And some of them raised themselves up, but did not remain emperor. Everybody wants to rule the world. And I looked, and behold, the 12 wings and 2 little wings disappeared, and nothing was left on the eagle's body except 3 heads that were resting, and 6 little wings. So they went through all the kingdoms, just about. And I looked, and behold, from the 6 little wings, 2 separated and stayed under the head that was on the right side, but the 4 stayed in their place. And I looked, and behold, these 4 additional wings planned to raise themselves up to be emperors. Now, like I said, unless you understand and get the teaching, Age of the Beast and Age of Christ, where I do in-depth teaching on the beast and what all these kingdoms symbolize, and what the animals symbolize of the beast kingdom. Now, this is the same with these wings. Now, what we just read was all the kingdoms of feathers, representing the feathers that rule. From Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persian, which represented the 2 dwarf wings. And now we come into Alexander the Great's the kingdom, and the 4 generals that ruled after him. And I looked, and behold, one raised itself and immediately disappeared, and second, and it disappeared more quickly than the first. And I looked, and behold, the 2 that were left also planned to reign. But while they were planning it, behold, the one of the resting heads that was in the middle awoke, and it was greater than the other 2 heads. And I saw how the two heads were united with it, and behold, the head turned with the ones that were with it, and it ate up the additional wings which planned to reign. Moreover, this head made itself master of the whole earth, and ruled very oppressively over its inhabitants. And it had more power over the world than all the wings had gone before. Now, what kingdom do you think that was that had more power than all the kingdoms that went before? In Daniel's prophecy, is called the indescribable beast, the undescribable beast, the Iron Kingdom. That's Rome. It's to help you out. No kingdom had the power of Rome. And no kingdom ruled as long. Well, unless you want to count Egypt. But I'm talking in this modern time. Moreover, the head made itself master of the whole earth, and ruled very oppressively over his inhabitants. Rome was ruthless, and its inhabitants, and it had more power over the world than all the wings that had gone before. And afterward I looked, and behold, the middle head suddenly disappeared, just as the wings had done. But the two heads remained, and they reigned over the earth and over its inhabitants. Rome split into two. You had Constantinople and Byzantine kingdom. That was under the Constantine. So the two kingdoms, Rome did split, east and west. Out of Turkey came Constantinople, and then you had the empire to the west that was still ruled out of Rome itself. So two places or two heads that it's referring to. And behold, the middle head suddenly disappeared, just as the wings had done, but the two heads remained. See, God writes history in advance. And they also reigned over the earth and over its inhabitants. And I looked, and behold, the head on the right side ate up the one on the left. The kingdom of Constantine, the Byzantine kingdom, ended up taking over under the Pope and became a Pope-like kingdom. And I looked, and behold, the middle head suddenly disappeared, just as the wings had done. But the two heads remained, and also reigned over the earth, and over its inhabitants. And I looked, and behold, the head on the right side ate up the one on the left. Then I heard a voice saying to me, "Look before you, and think about what you see." And I looked, and behold, what seemed to be a lion rose up out of the forest room. And I heard how he uttered a man's voice to the eagle, and spoke, saying, "Who do you think the lion is?" Christ, Lion from the tribe of Judah. His kingdom is coming. The Lion King. Even in Revelations, they refer to him as a lion returning. And he's going to set his kingdom up here for 1,000 years to teach men who the boss is. That's after he wiped out and destroyed his eagle-head beast kingdom in the Valley of Megiddo. Well, he's going to conquer the Antichrist and the beast in his kingdom. Satan will be bound and thrown into the abyss for 1,000 years. Chained by Michael himself, Michael the Archangel. And Christ is going to teach those who's boss. This is his earth. This is God's earth. He spoke his earth, world, and he got almighty too. And Christ is going to rule and set his kingdom. And we're in the last days. The reason I feel the Holy Spirit prompted me to read this is to remind you, we're in the last days. There's not much time left. Christ's kingdom is waxing as this beast kingdom is waning right now. You're looking at it in its throes right now. God is judging the corrupt in this earth and pushing their New World Order beast, New World disorder beasts arising back. And he will come. And he will deceive the whole world. The whole world will follow. And they will take the mark of the beast. But we're here to resist and push back the Antichrist as the army of God. That's our job. And to expose darkness. And what's done in darkness. That's what us Christians are supposed to do. We're warriors. We're not babies on a battlefield. I get my teaching too many babes in the church, babe tards, to get that teaching. That's not what we're supposed to be. We're to be soldiers for Christ. And I looked, and behold, the head on the right side ate up the one on the left. Then I heard a voice saying to me, and I looked, and behold, what seemed to be a lion rose up out of the forest, roaring. And I heard how he uttered a man's voice to the eagle, and spoke, saying, Listen, and I will speak to you. The Most High says to you, Are you not all that is left of the four animals that I made to reign in my world? Get my teaching. God's despots. God sets up these beastly men to rule as he told Daniel. Set up the bases of men to rule, the most insane rulers, the Hitlers, the Genghis Khans, and Napoleons, all these bad men, Alexander the Great going on. The Nebuchadnezzars, the Alexander the Great, the Cyrus the Great. These are God's despots. These guys are killers. Pagan killers. But God sets them up to show he's in control. It's like these are just like dragons on a leash to him. His leash. He controls. These are his pets. These despots. Listen, I will speak to you. The Most High. The Most High rules in the kingdom of men. It's what we read in Daniel. You that follow strictly. Says to you, Are you not all that is left of the four animals that I made to reign in my world? Whose world? It's God's world. He made this world, created everything in it, including you and I. And we're genetically engineered marvels to be accidents or to come from inorganic matter to organic matter. It's impossible. Genetic codes and genetic programs takes a program. DNA, RNA. God created us, created this whole world. He created it perfect, but it failed. But even its imperfection, you can still see God's perfection. So imagine how it was before it failed. I imagine how we were before we failed. The Adamic race. It's God boasting. He's the only one that can boast. I made to reign in my world. It's his world. The Bible said cattle 1,000 hills belong to him. Save the counterfeit. On the little G counterfeit. Beating on his chest, wishing he was God. All he's going to get is the lake of fire, him and his boys. And the rest of the world that follows. So that through them, the end of my times might come. God got a set time clock. And he's been pushing his clock back. Actually, we out of time. Time's up. God granted an extension. He put a door stopper in the door that was closing, called Trump. And he pushed back the New World Disorder agenda. God's in control. Of my times might come, and you are the fourth to come, and you have conquered all the animals that are past, and have held the world. The animals representing the different kingdoms. Read about that in the age of the beast, the age of Christ, where I talk about the animals, what they represent. And you have held the world in subjection, in great terror. They're tyrants, and they terrorize. That's what they do. The whole world, this whole world's been in terror. Terror of false flags, terror of wars, one war after the next. One catastrophe after the next. One disease, man-made disease, outbreak after the next. One man-made chemical attack, radiation, poisoning, everything after the next. Terror. Over the whole earth. Because Satan is the God of this world. He hates mankind. And his nymphs, his minions, operate just like him. They hate us too. They want to destroy us too. Terror. Keep you in a perpetual state of fear. Satan and his demons feed off the frequency of fear. And you are the fourth to come, and you have conquered all the animals that are past. And you have held the world in subjection, in great terror, and the whole earth with harsh oppression. And you have lived slavery, and you have lived so long in the world with deceit, and you have not judged the earth with truth. Then I start out saying lies and deception. That's what Satan is. He's the liar. Jesus told the Pharisees, you're not of God. You're your father the devil. He was a liar and a murderer from the get-go, from the beginning. And then you of your father the devil, even of us. That's what his minions are here. Lies and deception. Everything's a lie. Your heli days, call them heli days. I don't call them holidays. Your heli days are lies. All of them. I don't care which one. You worshiping demons. I don't care if it's Christmas, Astra, Easter worship, ISIS worship. Halloween itself. We ain't got to expand on that one. That's self-evident. It's axiomatic. All of them pay. Every single one, including this one coming up, so-called Valentine's Day. The celebration of Pan, Lucas, the pervert demon. All paid, every single heli day. All coming from Rome, out from that Jezebel church in Rome, out of the Vatican. He brought us all these heli days. It's been around ancient occult for thousands of years being celebrated by the pagan witches and wizards and warlocks. Everything's a lie. They're all deception. That's what he says here. And the whole earth with harsh oppression. You have lived so long in the world with deceit, deception. And you have not judged the earth with truth. You have persecuted the meek and hurt the peaceful. Around the world, violence to those that try to stand up for truth, stand up for liberty, stand up for justice. They're persecuted. This is around the world. By Satan and his minions. But now you're dealing with God. God said enough already. Now God's standing up. And he's cleaning the house. He's doing it right now. Cleaning the house on corruption around the world. This is going on. That's why I wanted to read this. We're living in biblical times today. God's cleaning the house on corruption today. It's not the judgment, despite the naysayers and the prophets of doom. They want to make us Babylon. No, we're not Babylon. God's judging the Babylonian system. That's true. He's judging the corrupt in power. That's true. But not us. We're the apple of God's eye as well as Ezra. Just corrupt leaders have infiltrated, sold out globalists, sold out to the globalist system, and hijacked America, and hijacked Israel, and done all kind of atrocious evil under the sun, the same beastly mindset system. Trying to usher in the beast. They're trying to bring about the Antichrist. Them and the Jezebel church out of the valley. You have persecuted the meek, hurt the peaceful. You have hated those who tell the truth. Liars hate those who tell the truth. Falsehood hate that which is righteous, that which is upright. And they will vehemently attack the truthers. The truther movements was born out of a bunch of lies and deception coming within our own gut. All the false flags we've been lied to about to keep us in a perpetual state of war. Lies and deception. That's what God's judging now. All the blood and treasure, the lost, behind falsehood, behind lies, behind our leaders deceiving us, working for Satan, sold out to the devil. Hollywood lies.